All right, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is having a good time or had your dinner. So welcome to the Singapore Tableau user group for the 3rd of April. So this is the first virtual meetup that we are having for this year. So we have two main topics that we'll be talking today. One is on the cognitive theories on how you can design information better. And Phyllis will be going through her IronVis submission just to give you a little taste on what it takes to kind of submit a proposal or submit a submission for IronVis. So without further ado, let's start off. So just a quick introduction. Swagat is not available, so I'll just give a short intro on his behalf. So Swagat is one of our co-leads for the Singapore Tableau Group, and he is working as a Tableau consultant at one of the BI firms in Singapore. And for me, I am working at 2K Games, so video games company. So I've been around using Tableau for the past 2 to 3 years. So I'm also the co-host for the Games Night Biz, one of the community projects. So if you have been following us on Twitter, you'll be seeing some of the projects that some of the community members are actually submitting. And then I'll pass on to Phyllis and Aloysius to give a short intro.
Hey, hello, I'm Phyllis, and I'm a data analytics manager in the National Library Board. And yeah, later I'll be sharing how I created the Mobile Legends dashboard.
Yep. Hi everyone, my name is Aloysius. I'm a reporting analyst at TikTok, and I haven't really been using Tableau as much because TikTok has its own dashboarding tool. So yeah.
Sounds good. Maybe for the rest of the participants, if you want, you can put it in your chat, like where you're from or what are you working as, stuff like that, so that we can get to know each other. Okay. So before we start, we just want to kind of do a quick survey, just to kind of understand where everyone's expertise with like Tableau is and like what kind of content you'll be looking forward to in the future. So it helps us to plan our future content. So you can actually go to this, use your QR code to actually scan this, and you can actually see the kind of do a very short survey. So we'll be seeing this one. So as and when if you are ready, you can actually do a quick poll here. We have a very good mixture of experts and newcomers in the call. So that's nice. You can see that everyone is shy. Nobody wants to put like I'm an expert. See, let's give it a couple of minutes just to give everyone a chance to vote. All right, looks like we have quite a equal split for people who have basic information, basic knowledge, and those that have a solid background. So I think we can actually plan our future content accordingly. So the next survey, quick survey we have is just kind of what of the 3 topics, your top 3 preference of the different topics that you would like to see for future sessions. So this goes on from like, tips and tricks, how to create a certain chart, hands-on workshop, or, what's coming up in Tableau, UX design, and etc. Wow, okay. I think tips and tricks was also one of the top contenders for our in-person meetup in Feb, because I think we had Heidi doing a very cool 20 minutes on all the shortcuts you can do in Tableau to make life easier. That's good. I think everyone wants to learn a little bit more on like the technicalities of Tableau, tips and tricks. Oh, that's good. Cool. Alrighty. Okay, so for Slido, you can actually also enter a question if you have any question at any point of time, or you can use the chat group. So like either me, Phyllis, or Aloysius will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, to reach out and we'll try to answer as much as we can. All right. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so the agenda for today, we'll do some housekeeping. Then we'll do like the visual theory, and Phyllis will be going through the iron list, and then we'll do a quiz and wrap up. So that's the main agenda. So just housekeeping for the user group. So what we have planned for the year is there will be incoming in-person talks at the end of May, just to do a post Tableau conference coverage. There will be one in August and one in November. But in between this month, as and when we have new content, we will also probably plan for a virtual meetup as well. So to stay connected. So another thing is we are moving from the Splash platform to Bevy. So this is by Tableau. So you can actually go over to tableau.bevy.com/Singapore Tableau user group. So this ensures that you get the latest updates on all the upcoming events that we'll be doing. So this is how the website looks like. You can actually look at past events or upcoming events. You can also search for other groups. So there are other user groups that are in this page as well, if you are interested to join. So there are like different, you can search by different industries or even different regions if you are available on those timings. So feel free to explore this portion. And then the next thing is Tableau conference is 1 month away. So if you have not registered, there is a on-demand session for some of the keynotes and presentations. Not all of them will be available, but you can actually register the Salesforce Plus account, which will give you free access to it. For those who are not traveling to Tableau conference, you can actually look at the catalog. So they have actually released the list of catalog of all the speakers that will be giving a presentation on at Tableau conference. So take a look here. I'll share the link after the call, and just let us know, what are the topics that you are interested in here, and we'll see if we can try to get those speakers in, or even get the material so that we can share with everyone. Okay. So before we start off this portion, does anyone have any questions? All right, sounds good. Okay, so this is my segment, Hacking the Visual Mind. So basically what I'll be going through is how we can use design to kind of better create information flow. So just a quick introduction again. So before we jump into the actual meat and potatoes, I'll share my journey. So I started in October 2019 as a data analyst. I got promoted and recently transferred to the business intelligence team. So I mainly focus on all things visualization. So I kind of, I have an internal task group, which I call the Knights of the Pie Table, which is similar to what we do here. So we share like best practices, we share like what's going on in the industries and stuff like that. And I also kind of co-host, like I said, the Tableau community-led projects for Games Like Peace, and now for Singapore Tag as well. Alrighty. I don't claim to know everything about data visualization, but I know enough to share my knowledge. So I hope everyone is excited. So here we go. So the world today is a different one from when I was growing up. There is so much data being captured every minute of the day, and everything anyone does can be a data point. And in order for us to understand data, we have data visualization. But it is a field that is evolving, and a lot can be still done to improve that charts by adopting a design-centric mindset for data. That means understanding your audience and understanding how information is being processed cognitively so we can influence and guide it. There are a lot of theories put across by different psychologists on how the human brain works. I will not go into much detail, but fundamentally, each of them talks about how information is processed and retained by the brain through sensory stimulus. To simplify things, this is a very reiterative process that first starts with what we already know, sitting in our long-term memory, which is shaped by our experiences in life. How you interact with information with your senses, like sight, touch, and sound, creates short-term memory, which leads to information processing using our working memory that determines if information should be discarded or retained. So the idea of a good data visualization is to reduce that processing time and assist your brain to determine which information are retained. And this is done through applying purposeful visual design that focuses on that user experience. However, at the core of that is also understanding who your audience are, because not one design style works for everyone. As I said earlier, there are two parallel processes going on, and there are different perceptual theories that deal with each of them. For bias, there's iconography and pre-attentive attributes. Both are triggered by our brain subconsciously with no processing time required. Iconography is widely used in our world today, and it is something that dominates user interface design, as it allows affordance in the absence of text. For the world of marketing, it is also a crucial piece. If I were to ask you how McDonald's logo look like, chances are you would have a very clear imagery in your mind, and that is the yellow M letter over a red background. This information is something that has been powdered into memory over the course of our life, either being customers or being exposed to marketing campaigns. However, that's not to say we should prioritize icons over actual text, because it depends again on your audience. For example, an Android user and an Apple user will resonate differently to a button icon for back, simply because of how the functionality differs. But having said that, here are some examples of how you would incorporate iconography into data visualization. You can either use it to replace actual data points, add context, replace actual text, or even UI navigation in general. Now, pre-attentive attribute is another visual theory that is triggered by your fast decaying iconic memory, something like picking up a lightning flash in a dark sky. Why this works is that our brain is unsubconsciously wired to pick up differences in the environment, which comes from a long line of evolution in survival instinct. Pre-attentive attributes can be loosely grouped into these four buckets: color, form, position, and motion. The first one is color. How you might use this in a data visualization could be something as simple as a crosstab. Hands up if you are able to pick up where all the negative sales numbers are with just a quick glance. Chances are you'll need a couple of minutes to process all this information. But by applying color, you can create a visual cue for your brain to speed up information searching. The second pre-attentive attribute deals with position. Eye tracking research showed that people scan screens in various patterns, and the two most common ones are the F and Z layout. If you take a look at the heat map above, the red spots are where you have higher cognitive traffic as opposed to the blue spot. This can be interpreted as a tendency to scan left to right, then downwards, not unlike reading a book. So when you're visualizing data, do keep this in mind and place the most critical parts of it at the top left corner. Now, the two layouts have their uses. F is preferred when you have a lot of compact information, something like a dashboard or report. And Z is mostly used to create headlines and prompting call to action, something like your PowerPoint slide. Another aspect of position is often overlooked. This is the use of negative space or white space. It is the empty gaps between each visual element and create structure. By adopting this, you can improve readability and allow groups of visual elements to be picked up and separated easily by your audience. The next one deals with form, and it is the largest component for pre-attentive attributes. any visual element that stands out from the rest through either shape, length, width, size, or orientation, cause your eyes to focus there instead. Similarly to color, you could use this to build visual hierarchy that allows your audience to quickly scan for insight. Here are some examples on how you would do them. The last piece of pre-adaptive attributes is motion, which is something very common in short videos and animation. Our eyes are always drawn towards a moving object rather than a stationary one. And you could potentially use that to tell a data story, especially if it's a complex idea that requires you to break down into multiple steps. One excellent example of this being used in data visualization is Hans Rosling's 200 Countries in 200 Years, where he visualizes the changing landscape of life expectancy against income by each country. I'll post a link to the linking chat later so that you can actually take a look as well. And with that, we've covered the bias pillar, the perceptual theories. On the other spectrum, we can affect how sensory work through applying theories like Gestalt principles as well as proper typography. The theory of Gestalt has roots in philosophy and psychology dating back to the late 1800s. At its simplest, the whole form is perceived rather than in individual parts. Gestalt principles are methods by which our brain organizes a visual stimuli so that it's familiar and easier to process. Thus, it is important to understand these laws of perception when working in data visualization, so you can guide your readers to better interpret charts and graphs and make sense of the information visually with their exceptional speed. There are 5 main Gestalt principles, and each of them are used in varying degrees in visualization design. One of the simplest Gestalt law is the law of enclosure. The definition of enclosure is this: objects collected within a boundary-like structure are perceived as a group. In other words, it's essentially wrapping up data by placing a line or shading around it to signify that those visual elements belong together. Here's an example of something I did a while back, and by drawing a simple border, I've effectively grouped the paragraph, the line chart, and the filters to keep it separate from the rest of the visualization. Next up, we perceive objects that are located near one another as belonging to the same group. And the Gestalt law of proximity embodies that, and can be also used to direct readers to scan data predominantly in a particular fashion, either left to right or top to bottom. From my past work, I have here a pictorial chart on Game of Thrones. Hopefully there's some fans in the crowd. So you can see from here, each bucket is a collection of 100 skull icons, which represents the number of deaths in each season. The audience is able to relate each bucket as a whole, as well as a specific season, due to the laws of proximity. When the eye is guided to move from one object to another, we speak about the law of continuity. Our perception tends to see objects arranged in lines, curves, as more related or grouped, even though they may be disconnected, like the one shown here. So do take caution when you have breaks in data completeness, and ensure that you apply other Gestalt laws like enclosure or proximity to prevent misinterpretation. The figure ground principle states that people instinctively perceive objects as either being in the foreground or the background. Now, figure ground is important because it can confuse the user when you have visual ambiguity. For visualization, this is extremely important in the area of using colors to contrast information, or even dual axis charts. Negative space and colors, when used properly, can help to guide your users to read the data more easily. However, it can also confuse your users if it's not done properly. Elements that have similar visual appearance seems to be more related or grouped than the ones that are not sharing the same attributes. The main characteristics that boost impression of similarity are size, shape, and color. It is a powerful law of human perception as it allows you to create association out of unseemly, unrelated elements. This is similar to the form principle in pre-attentive attributes. But the difference is, for pre-attentive attributes, it is used to create contrast, whereas for over here, it is used to build structure and organize your visual elements. Apart from the Gestalt principles, we also have typography, which affects the cognitive load of your audience. Typography is a large field by itself that is widely used in creative content, but not frequently advocated as much in data visualization. To understand typography, you also need to understand how fonts work. There are main four types of fonts. Serif, which are fonts that have extension of alphabets like T and R. They are generally very easy to read on large screens. Sans serifs are more computer-looking in general and works very well in all sizes and very much preferred for user interface design. Monospace are alphabets with equal width, similar to how a typewriter document looks like, but it takes up a lot of space, making it hard to use for content-dense visualization. And lastly, scripts are basically handwriting styles that create creative flair, which should be used with caution as it affects readability. So with all that being said, what should I use? For the most part, I would recommend sans serif due to its scalability and readability. Even with one font, you could still build a visual hierarchy through different font size and font styles, like using bolds, italics, and even underlines. And with that, we've covered everything. Or is there something missing? What do you think it sits? Or what do you think is missing from this chart? Colors. So colors sit in the middle because as much as we can use colors to influence, it is also governed by cultural differences and emotions that are associated with certain colors. So the main 3 points that you will think about when using colors are you invoking the right emotions? Are you creating enough contrast? And are the colors accessible? The topic of color emotions are subjective because of the influence of different cultures and how they are used across the world. For example, in the business world, red is often used to symbolize caution, urgency, or even negativity, especially when it comes to losses. But for Asian, like Chinese especially, red embodies prosperity, happiness, luck, fortune, and everything good. So on the contrary, green is often used to represent good luck, money, and nature in the West. So you can see how that really contradicts the meaning that you're trying to bring, especially if you use those 2 colors together. However, it is still a widely accepted practice, even though it's pretty much legacy now. Now, barring any cultural differences and adopting a universal understanding on the colors, we can attach some emotions to the color wheel. Cultural differences that may muddy these emotions should always still take precedence of anything you're seeing here. But by using this guideline, you can enhance your data story through color intent. And to add an additional layer to that, it is good practice to stick to a palette revolving the colors that you choose so that you can create consistency and ensure that you have enough contrast throughout. I will not go into much detail about the different color palettes because it is really a fluid structure. But there are definitely tools that can make it easier for you, such as the color tool from Adobe. Now, accessibility in colors is also another topic that is not frequently addressed. Color blindness is a condition that affects approximately 8 times more men than women and basically impedes you to seeing a specific color spectrum. To put it in perspective, the world's population sits at about 7.8 billion, and out of that, 350 million have some form of color blindness. The most problematic colors, as you would have guessed, is red and green, but it's something that is often used in the business world. There are alternatives to the traditional profit loss colors, such as using iconography, or even using different color hues, such as blue and red. I do strongly advocate using tools like Adobe Color to test your palette. And with that, we have come to the end of our visual perceptual theories for data visualization. Before we move on to Phyllis' segment, does anyone have any questions or want to clarify anything? Alrighty. So if anyone have any questions, just feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll address it as soon as we can. So I'll stop sharing my screen and Phyllis can go ahead with her segment.
Okay, thanks, Louise, for the sharing. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Okay. Yep, there we go.
Okay, can. Okay. Okay, hopefully you're able to spot some of these principles in my dashboard. Okay, firstly, I'll start a little bit about me first. Okay, so I'm a data analytics manager in the National Library Board. And in my spare time, I actually do like data a lot, and I actually like data design. Okay, and more importantly, I actually play a lot of Mobile Legends during my free time. And to date, I've actually played more than 2,000 matches, and I've like started playing Mobile Legends like around COVID period. So it's pretty short. Yeah, and my highest rank to date is Mythic 2. So if anyone here plays Mobile Legends and is like very zai, yeah, please feel free to like add me after this. Okay, so this addiction of mine, right, actually inspired me to create this Mobile Legends dashboard. And I'm actually very happy that it's actually one of the top 15 entries for the latest Iron Vs. Yeah, together with Louisa's, which I believe he'll be sharing in the next sharing. Okay, I've included a QR code here if you're interested to see how my Mobile Legends dashboard looks like. Yeah, and if you want to like interact with it. Okay, okay, and since I'll be going through a bit of the behind the scenes, let me first go through what my dashboard is about. Are you able to see my screen still? Okay, so yeah, so this is my Mobile Legends dashboard. Okay, so a bit of the inspiration, I did notice that quite a bit of these strategy battle games, they like to use this dark and neon theme color palette, like League of Legends, Dota. So that's what actually inspired me to create this look and feel for this dashboard. Okay, and just now Louise mentioned this enclosure principle, right? So you can see that actually my dashboard basically has these 3 sections where I actually start off with like what the gameplay is about. Then afterwards, I further deep dive into the purpose of the different roles. And then lastly, I actually go into the most detailed information, such as what kind of strategy you want to employ. Okay, so yeah, at the top here, I did make use of icons. This is so that, you know, I reduce a bit of clutter, but at the same time also sharing information if you want to know more. So you can actually hover over these icons to actually find out what the gameplay is about. Okay, then afterwards I did create some like radar chart. Sorry. Yeah, so afterwards I did create some like a radar chart as well as a map boundary that is interactive. So if you hover across the different rows here, you're able to see their various traits as well as what lane they should actually go. So this is actually what the gameplay of Mobile Legends is basically about lah. Yeah, and later in my sharing, I'll be sharing a little bit on how to actually create these two charts. Okay, then lastly, this is actually the strategy that you can employ when deciding what kind of heroes to choose. So you can actually decide by picking the heroes that have like the highest win and pick rate, which are the meta heroes over here. Okay, but of course, you may want to take into account like heroes that have very high ban rate. You know, if the hero is very likely to be banned, you may not want to bother learning how to play this hero. Okay, and lastly, you know, if you are really very good, you know how to play a wide variety of heroes. Yeah, you can choose a hero based that is best at countering what your opponent has chosen. Okay, so yeah, I'll go back to my sharing. Okay, so yeah, so just now I mentioned I'll be broadly going through how to create the radar chart as well as the map boundary. Okay, so to create the radar chart, right, actually data prep is very important. Okay, you can see that I have 5 attributes that I want to visualize in this radar chart. And their scales are actually very different. So like, for example, the health is actually in the thousands range, whereas the rest are actually very low. So what you need to do is actually do a min-max normalization. So what that means is that you will need to do some data prep whereby for each column, the max value is 1, whereas the minimum value is 0. So after this min-max normalization, you can see that, like, for example, this health column, the highest will be 1 after I've sorted it. Okay, and for this, I actually did the data prep outside of Tableau, but yeah, I can feel free to do it in Tableau desktop as well. Okay, then afterwards, I just made sure to transpose the data in Tableau because you want the data format to be in this long data format. Then yeah, I just rename the fields accordingly to attribute and attribute value. And the last thing to note about creating radar charts, right, is that at the end of it, you need to make sure that your computation is an average because as you can see in my radar chart just now, I actually colored them according to different roles. And in Mobile Legends, there are actually very few tanks as compared to like fighters. So, you know, if I'm taking a sum, it'll be actually skewed towards fighters. So just make sure to average them out later. Okay, and here are the key calculations required. And as you can see, creating a radar chart is not as straightforward because there are some trigonometry involved. Okay, but the good news is that you don't necessarily need to understand the computation. Okay, the only thing that you really need to understand is this thing that I've highlighted in yellow here. So this is a number of attributes that you want to visualize. So for me, I have 5 attributes, right? So my angle spacing needs to be 360 degrees divided by 5. Okay, so yeah, so that my radar chart is actually like a pentagon. Okay, so okay, I will do like a demo in Tableau desktop. So I will change my screen. Okay, so yeah, hopefully you can see my screen now. Okay, I've actually created you know, those like very lengthy calculations inside already. So as you can see from my left-hand side panel, I have them all in already. Creating the radar chart is actually pretty simple. So I'll just do a demo. I'll be dragging this to the column and the rows. Okay, my radar chart needs to be in a polygon format. Okay, then. Where's my... okay, don't worry about not being able to follow because actually after this in my slides, I do have a screenshot of how I actually created this. Okay, so okay, you can see that after I drag row into the color, right? there are actually way more combinations than what you actually see in my actual Mobile Legends dashboard. And that's actually because in my dashboard, I decided to omit out all those roles that are like dual roles. So there are some heroes that are like, let's say Alice, you know, she's like tank and mage. And I want to omit them because I want my radar chart to show more variation. So I just created a very simple filter. Oh my God, I don't have my filter here. Okay, sorry. I didn't create a filter here, but okay. Yeah, I think never mind. Okay, so okay, then next what you need to do is, because you see there are a lot of overlapping colors. So what you need to do is to change the opacity of it so that it's much clearer. So yeah, that's about it. And for this chart, you don't want to have all these like grid lines at the back. So yeah, make sure to remove them. And actually, even for like dashboards, like even for charts like, you know, bar charts and all, I typically will prefer to omit them as well, because, you know, sometimes less is more. Okay, so yeah, then afterwards, just make sure to hide the axis so that yeah, so actually that's how you create the radar chart. Okay, let me switch over to the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so sorry, just now what I wanted to show was how I actually in my actual dashboard, I did omit out those heroes that are basically mixed hero types. So in my actual dashboard, you do see less colors lah. Okay, then so you do notice that I'm actually missing one thing now, right? Which is the spider web in the background. So yeah, you can actually create this by hand, or you can create this in Tableau. But a Tableau hack that you can actually do is to actually copy Ken Fleurlar's template. So I've included the link here. So his template is actually pretty user friendly. So yeah, I'll just move over to his template over here. Okay, so to create the background for the radar chart, right, that's actually just a background image. But because I don't really want to create it by scratch, I mean, you can create it you can draw it using PowerPoint or whatsoever. So yeah, but I think the easier way is to use someone else's template. So so you know what, you saw that I have 5 attributes that I want to visualize, right? So I obviously want my spider chart to also have just 5 attributes. Okay, then I don't really like so many grid lines, so I will just like adjust it accordingly. Okay, so I'll be copying his background here. And you notice that because I use this dark theme, my dashboard is basically this like dark theme, right? I will also need to change the color of this spider. So just make sure to change the colors accordingly to what you want your background color to be. So mine is this like dark blue shade. Then afterwards, what you need to do is really just a simple screenshot of this, and then you can import it into your dashboard as a background image. And for your radar chart, just need to make sure that the background is transparent so that you can lay it over on top of your spider web. Okay. Then for the map boundary, I actually use this website called cbistudio.interworks. So okay, I won't be going through a demo of how I actually created the map boundaries because it's quite time consuming, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So I actually got this background image of the net. what you have to do is just import the background image in and make sure that you specify that you are creating polygons over here. Then afterwards, all you need to do is really just clicking away. And while you're clicking, you will notice that all these like data points will show up at the right-hand side over here. Okay, and you notice there's this like tag icon over here. So when you're clicking to create the shapes, do remember to label them. So like for example, this shape 0 is actually the top lane, which is this one over here. So just make sure to label them as you go along. And then lastly, all you need to do is just export the data. Okay, then afterwards is a fun part, which is combining the two data sets together. So just now, the data that I got from the CBI Studio website, from that link, I've actually named the file as polygon.csv, and what you need to do is create this relationship to combine them together. Okay, mine is not a very straightforward join because of how my data is, but yeah, so the additional step that I have to do is to actually create this calculation here, because I want to combine this column, this row here, together with this shape label column over here, right? I need to make sure that there's this logic that ties them together. Okay, so I won't be going through the demo for this, but yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. You just import the polygon.csv file into Tableau, combine them together, and this is how you actually create the chart in Tableau desktop. Okay, and actually very similar to how we created the radar chart, you just need to make sure to import the background image as well, so that it won't be just these floating polygons. Okay, so I guess that's it for my sharing, but just want to share that actually a huge part of creating this dashboard is doing web scraping. So because MLBB don't have an API, so the data is actually web scraped off blogs online. And I actually web scrape the data using R. And if you are interested to know how I web scrape the data, I've actually uploaded it onto my GitHub. So yeah, feel free to check it out. And if you want to check out my Tableau public portfolio, you can feel free to do so in this QR code as well. Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I think there was a question on the multiple rows that were omitted. Like, is it I think the question was like, was it possible to include if it's important data points? So what was the rationale behind filtering away the multiple rows for the heroes?
Oh, okay, because if I don't filter out those with multiple rows, it feels very cluttered. And I want to show more variations. Like for example, in the actual dashboard, you notice that like assassins, they have very high attack, whereas for tanks, they have very high health. To actually show the variations, the difference between the different roles, I didn't want those with dual roles to actually like cloud how the visualization would look like. Yeah, so that's my rationale for omitting those with dual roles lah. Yeah, but of course, if you're applying this to your own analysis, feel free to make this cater to what you actually want to show. If you need to show everything, yeah, feel free also.
Thank you, Phyllis. I think that's also a very classic example of like storytelling, like how you want to merge or rather present the data according to what your stakeholders want to see and view. So there are just so many ways you can actually visualize data. So thank you, Phyllis. I think that was really, really interesting. I think even within the chat, I think Ian and Senhe was also saying like, very smart use of your resources. Don't reinvent the wheel. So if you can find like tutorials or anything that can make your life easier, by all means, please use them. All right. So now we've come to the most exciting part of the call. So we'll be having a quiz that Aloysius will be bringing us through. So hopefully you'll be paying attention throughout the whole call because the questions will be all about today.
Let me know if y'all can see the screen. I think the game pin should be coming up soon. Yeah.
So I think you can either scan the QR code right at the top, or you can go
Yep.
to Kahoot website and enter the game pin. Oh, we didn't mention, but there is a prize for
Oh yes.
the top winner. So try your best. Yeah, 14. I think we have more than that.
We
Anyone
have around 20 plus, right?
trying to connect? If you are having any issues connecting to the game, just do let us know so we can help you with it. So we have a countdown to 10 so that we can get this rolling. Yeah, I think we can start. We have about
Yeah.
70 people.
Okay. About to start.
Good luck to everyone.
Okay, let go. Sure. So,
Is this sound? I remember there was like music or something. Like
oh yeah, I just on it.
I think we hear anything though.
Oh, is it?
Might need to share your audio or something.
Share my audio.
No, I think from the Zoom call.
Nice.
Oh, I'm happy. Everyone is paying attention.
Hieroglyphs, really.
Questions are too easy for you all. Wow, it's a very fight. The pen is on fire.
That's right.
This should be a giveaway if you're been listening. I think future calls we need to have some background music going on.
Oh yeah. Huh. I can hear on my end, but I guess I don't know if they hear on their end. So yeah,
No, we don't hear anything.
I see.
Oh, Cedric.
I see our student ambassador doing very well. Just stop. Nice.
Close side, close side. Yeah, so for those that are playing Mobile Legends, please feel free to add Phyllis.
Nice. That's a giveaway.
It was very fast.
That's so very fast.
Nice. There's no wrong answer to that. Quick question over there.
Yeah. Last question.
This is a tough one. Everyone's like thinking very hard on this.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And there we have it. Our third is GGL, the second is Ben, and the
That's
first place goes
Cedric.
to Cedric, I think. Yeah,
Nice.
nice.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the end of my segment.
Well deserving of our student ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Cedric, for your prize, you need to come to our in-person the next time in May. Collect it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you everyone for your time today. I hope everyone has learned something interesting to bring over to your daily work and stuff. But if you have any questions on the topics that we've talked about today, or even on Phyllis segment, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or even the new Bevy web page. We will be distributing the slides as well as the recording when it's ready. I think it's probably tomorrow or the day after, we'll be sharing, as well as like all the links that we talked about. So if you have further questions from then, feel free to reach out to any of the colleagues. Right. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you in the in-person in end May. We'll cover a lot more on what in TC. So just also another reminder, if you are not able to make it for TC, just feel free to look through the catalog of sessions, and if there's anything that piques your interest, let us know, so that, because some of us will be heading up for the Tableau conference, so we'll be hopefully finding some time to listen into the sessions that you're interested in and bring back some of the learning. All right, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in May. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.